All right, so let's go ahead and do a little bit of organizing here. If we find our player start here, notice that its current location is almost at zero, right? It's zeroed out here on this axis, but it's moved in a specific way so that it matches our floor. Now, if your floor isn't at 000, you can go ahead and just type in 000 here, adjust your player start so that it fits it, press play or option P to check it, and then just see where it's at. Now, in this particular lesson, we're going to be going with the essentially just we're going to remodel this floor, is what I'm trying to say. And for that, we're going to have to go into modeling mode. Again, this is kind of a standard exercise or first project for you'll find in a lot of tutorials as they do the kind of marble game, whether it's Unity, Unreal, or even in Godot. So this is a great way to learn, kind of the holistic approach to even just simple game development. Anyway, back to this. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the eye here to get rid of the floor. And it's actually not gone. It's just invisible in the view. So if I press play, you can still, it's still here. But what we're doing is we're just hiding it here. And what we're going to do, actually, let's bring it back for a second. And let's just create a floor using Unreal's modeling tools. So they have their own modeling tools that are similar to what you might find, like a Blender or Maya, but they're just a little bit watered down or scaled down from that, but they're still powerful. So if you go up here to selection mode, you click on it, you go down to modeling, you could see that we can create all of these different shapes. I'm not going to go through every one of these right now. I believe that with time, we'll eventually hit most of the stuff in here. So what I'd like to do is create a box that's roughly the same size. So I'm going to go ahead and click on box here, and I'm going to click in the middle here. And for the position, I'm just going to do 0, 0, and 0. So it's zeroed out. And if I click in the view and I hold Alt, you can see I can rotate around here. Now to scale this, you could use these scaling tools. I don't suggest that. I think we should use what's there. So I'm going to do 1, 1, 1, and then that's for the scale of this cube. And then what I want to do here is just adjust the width and height here. So you can left click in here and just kind of adjust that out like this, rotate a little bit, and then adjust the depth like this, just so that it's something similar to what we have. And then I want to adjust the height of this by, it says 100%. You could just bring that down a little bit. So something like this. And then I'm going to accept that. Now what happens is it actually creates inside of our content browser here, it actually creates a box. So like see how it says box here. If I right click here and I go to browse to asset, you could see it says box A1 whatever, and it's the shape of the box that we created. I'm just going to double click this and rename this floor underscore 02. And this just represents the floor, like the second floor that we created. Now, I'm going to go ahead and hit save all here and then save selected. And then I'm going to drag this into content here and I'm going to move it here. Now, what I can do is inside of my view here, I'm going to right click and let's see. Come on. This is in my outliner. So you might have to drag this up or down if you don't see your outliner, but right click in here and let's see. Interesting. I guess I could just hit delete to get that out of there. And you could see if I go to content, I have my floor 2 here. And I could just drag that back into my scene. Come on, go away. There we go. I just right clicked over here. So I can grab my floor 2 here and drop it inside my outliner, or I guess my level here. And then I'll just make sure that it is, all of this is set to 0. So if I click that little arrow there, it'll reset it all to 0 and place it back to where it needs to be. For the material here, you can, again, do whatever material you like. So if you click on this little sphere here, let's bring this up a little bit. And it gives you the world grid. I don't know, I'll just do the bricks clay, something like that. And what's nice though too is on this bricks clay, let's see if we can go back to that. If you feel like it's too big, come on. Let's open advanced here for a second. Let's see. You might have to go into the material parameters, maybe texture. Enable material parameters is kind of interesting. Let's see. And okay, so what are material parameters caching? Let's see. Yeah, we might have to go into the UVs itself of the model and adjust it. We'll do that later. All right, so let's go ahead and modify this a little bit. I'm gonna hit F to focus, again with that selected, and I wanna hide my initial floor so it's not in the way. And honestly, for the scale of the sphere, our little chrome ball, I might bring that down just a little bit more. It's kind of still a little large. So let's see. Up here we have zero point 0.6. I'm gonna go down to zero point 0.4 in every direction. There we go. And then what I'd like to do is with our model selected, the one that we just made, we can actually adjust it. So if we go down to model here, it says polygroup. If I click on that, it'll allow me to edit the mesh of my model. So you can see there's extrude, there's offset, there's inset, things like that. So if I click on inset here and I move my mouse left to right, you can see there's a little blue kind of box that appears on the inside. See that? So what I essentially did is I inset in the I kind of pushed in that face and I created like a little cut. See that? Like a little face within a face. If I click off here, you can see there's a face within a face. And that did mess up my UVs a little bit. And that's okay. We can adjust that later. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on this face and I'm gonna hold shift. I'm gonna select each one of these outside faces here. And I'm gonna click the extrude button here. And now you can see it extruded uh, up some walls. And as I move my mouse up and down, I can adjust the height of those walls. So if I click that and I hit accept, now you can see that we essentially created some walls for our sphere. And if I press play, um, you could see that it falls within that surface and we have the walls that are blocking it. Now remember, we don't actually have the blueprint attached to this object, right? So if I select my floor 2 here, and I go up to my world blueprint here, like open blueprint class, and or open level blueprint because we were using that. Remember, what's wired here is the initial floor, right? So let me just hold my right mouse button down there, and the floor is also here, right? Like we're moving the floor here for rotation. See that? So what I can do is I can actually right click here and break links to these are all the different nodes. So I could break all pin links and that'll break all of them. And let's actually select this and delete that. So because in our scene, we have it selected, our floor 2, I can right click in here and I can say add event or call on function or create reference. And if I click create reference, now I reference the floor 2. So if I select this and I plug this in here to each one of these targets, we could move that around. Now here with our floor, this is, remember we're getting our actors rotation, we're setting it and all that stuff for the floor here. So same thing as before, I can right click, I can create a reference to that and just wire this up here. Move this off to the side, right click here, create a reference to the floor here. Let's see where else we might need it. Up here, we're just kind of practicing coding. So we're not really using any reference to our floor. Down here is really the code that we use to essentially rotate. And then this is for using our keys, if you recall, right? Like our WASD keys. And then this is for actually using our mouse, our get mouse position. So I'm going to compile and I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back inside our test bed here. And I might actually just delete that floor out and leave it as floor 2. Now when I press play and I click in my scene, oh, it looks like we might be missing a few things. So let's go ahead and let's hit Command Control Z to go back to see what are we missing on our floor here. We might have to actually compile our entire project here. So we'll get into that in a second. So, and that could be something for the next video actually, but this should be marked as movable. That's one issue. So let's save that and then let's do build. And actually, I don't think we need to build all levels. So let's press play here and see, yep, now I'm moving that around, right? Our new floor, which is great. I'm gonna hit escape on that. I also believe that as a movable object, let's see, where is that floor 2? Where is our floor 2? There we go. It is movable, but I don't think we have simulate physics on. Let's see, enable gravity, constraints, let's see. All right, so actually, what I'm thinking is, I thought there used to be an option. I know you can do it inside of the mesh itself. So let's go ahead and click on this little arrow here, and that'll take us into the Actually, this little folder here, here, why is it not opening up my, let's see, static mesh. Um, it should open the material. I don't know why it's not opening any of these up. Is it because I'm still in modeling mode? Let's go back to selection mode. I think that could be what's the issue is. Um, Here's our static mesh. There we go. If I double click the option, it opened up what I was actually looking for. So here's our floor. Sorry about that long bit there. I used to be able to just click it. If you have the floor selected, what I want to do is add collision around the object. So there's these different object options here. If I click the view here, we can see our UV channel. Um, and also, let's see, what else do we have? Our eye here, we can see the vertices, binomials, simple collision, complex collision. If I click on complex collision, you could see what it would look like. It'll draw a collision box around the whole thing. So if I go to collision here and I do add sphere simplified, add capsule, you could see it adds this capsule around it, which would be not what we're looking for. Add simplified collision, and let's let's see. And then as we're going through here, let me kind of, let's see. Here's our primitives, here's our collision. So let's go to collision and remove collision. There we go. So the collision I want to add to this guy is a, let's see, add simplified collision. If I click on that, you can see here's our convex element, and that looks pretty good. And I think the best option is, let's see, delete selected collision. Okay, so there's an option off to the side here, I believe. It's called use simple collision as, it's over here on the side. So when you look for collision on the side here, let's see if I could find that again. Here, collision presets, collision complexity. If we do use simple, use complex collision as simple, and we select that, and then we save that, when we go back in here, it'll add collision to our object itself. So let me go ahead and press play here. And now when I move this around, you can see it's actually taking into account that. Let me hit escape. Let me actually delete this floor. We don't really need it anymore. So um, okay, where's that at? This is kind of annoying how this stays in this new version. All right, so there's our floor. I'm gonna hit delete and delete this floor and then save it and then press play. And again, we might have to adjust our camera a little bit, but now you can see it takes into account the collision of the boxes. And something else I want to show you is we might have we might have to recalculate that collision, right? So we want to go back into our modeling mode, for example, and I want to make a little hole where our ball will fall through, right? So we'll do, say like we do that in the corner here, right? So I'm going to create a box here, and this is going to be, I don't know, one. I don't know what the sections of the box are. One. That's pretty small. Let's do 100 and 100, and then for height, 100. Okay, so this is going to be a pretty easy game. What we'll do is we're going to use this as a tool to cut through, and we're going to say that we need to get our sphere past some obstacles into this hole. So let's make sure that this box is cutting through the floor, something like that. Let's accept that. And then we'll select these two. And then under, let's see, select or model, let's go to Boolean here. And you could see, as long as it says difference A and B, but depending on how you selected it, it cut a hole in there. Now when I hit accept, I'm gonna hit delete anyway. It actually cut that hole out. Now let's press play here. And as I move, you could see let's hit escape here. I get some errors. It says access static mesh. We have to kind of go back in here now because this new mesh is our Boolean, right? And if we go inside of our test bed here, so any adjustments we made, we now have this floor02 object, right? But if I go back into the scene itself, if I right click and I go to um, browse to asset, you could see now we have a completely new asset here. That's this Boolean object. And that's in our Alex 79 folder, right? So If I drag this into content and I move here and I go to the content folder, you can see I actually have floor 2 and now I have this Boolean version, which is an updated or new version. We didn't actually fully modify that one that was there. So so the one in the scene is this Boolean one. So we can, double click that. You can see, yep, there it is. It's got the hole in there. And um, again, I know this video is getting a little long. So I'm going to right click on this, rename it, and just name this like floor underscore 03, or you can name it cut or whatever. And that's this one in the scene. And I'll rename the one in the scene as well, floor 03. Maybe floor underscore 03. And I'm sure there's a way to do this. I'm just kind of getting back into figuring it out on Unreal, so you'll have to forgive me. But with this selected in our scene, now we can go back into our test bed, and there's really again those 3 spots that we need to replace. So let's just gut these guys out. Let's delete this. Let's delete this. And honestly, for this, I don't really foresee myself using the WASD keys anymore. I'm just going to use the mouse for my gameplay. So just to speed up time, I'm going to create a reference because remember, floor 03 is in our scene. And I'm going to create a reference here for floor 03. And if you're not seeing that, remember, you have to have it selected in your scene, right? So now let's double check that if whether or not we have to fix the collision. We might have to. So let's save this. Let's press play. And it looks like we might have to make sure that we mark it. Let's see. Let's go back to, let's stop pressing play for a second. Let's mark this as movable. So there's just little things that are different from Unity that, we have to mark this as movable. And let's double click this. Make sure that our collision, let's go back to our collision here. And we want to do use complex collision as simple. And we want to save that. Go back to our save bed, save that, and press play. And now you can see, let's try to get it out of the, oop. There's another problem is, if you recall, we want to make sure that those are marked as, so it's not so bouncy. Let's see. Yep, fell through that hole. You also might want to adjust your angle, your viewing angle. Here's our player start. We want to move that maybe up. I'm going to hit E, rotate that down, something like that. There's our player start. Oop. And then if I press play, it's a little bit better. Again, it's super bouncy. Maybe we have to go back in and let's see, here's our event tick. I remember on these are all set to teleport. So I guess, yeah, maybe we just right click, not reference from player start, but we want our floor 3 selected. And I think that'll stop the bounciness a little bit. And let's see. Oh, here, this is probably what the issue is. We want to turn on teleport physics. That's what's going to stop the bounciness actually more than the other one. So now we should be able to just, yeah, see how it's like sticking to the ground more? And come on, let's try to get it in there. There we go. All right, that's it for this lesson. I know it was a little long, and I hope that was helpful.